Mr. Buckley, who of the potential candidates do you think is, if I may steal a title from Mr. Vidal, the best man?
Oh, I'm not prepared to say. I think that several of them are highly qualified to be a good president. I think what you really mean to ask me, but are too shy, is who do I like most? To which my answer is that as a conservative, I am very much fetched by the programs of Mr. Reagan and also of Mr. Nixon. I think that Mr. Nixon has convinced the majority of the delegates that he is the best man in the light of his experience, given also the fact that his experience coincides with his commitment to a series of policies which they endorse.
Can Mr. Vidal assess those candidates for us? What do you think of them?
Well, I would come, I think, to a very different point of view. To me, none of them is really the best man, with the possible exception of Nelson Rockefeller. I cannot possibly imagine Richard Nixon as the President of the United States. I think he is essentially the hollow man that we always discussed. I think we're living in revolutionary times in which new programs are needed, and that you're going to need somebody who can really, the young people in the country, the Negroes, the ghettos, the poor, are angry, restless. This is a terrible time, and here you have a man who, when he was in Congress, he voted against public housing, against slum clearance, against rent control, against farm housing, against extending the minimum wage. He was against, or rather dubious about the 1954 Supreme Court decision bill. He said, I'm opposed to pensions in any form as it makes loafing more attractive than working. And now today he offers us a program for the ghettos, which he's made much of, and what is it? Well, he's going to give tax cuts to private businesses that go into the ghetto and to help the Negroes. Now, in actual fact, private business is set up to make private profits. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's not in the business of philanthropy. So they'll get their tax cut, and we'll have nothing in the ghettos, probably, but the rising expectation of what is now revolution. So I would say that as far as Mr. Nixon goes, I think he's an impossible choice domestically.
May I comment, Mr. Smith?
Please do.
Yeah. It seems to me that the earlier focus of Mr. Vidal here on human greed, you do remember he said that he found himself wondering whether a party that was devoted to the concept of human greed could have a hope to get a majority of the American people to vote for it. Now, the author of Myra Breckinridge is well acquainted with the imperatives of human greed.
Well, I would like to say, Bill, if I may say, Bill,
what dominates him?
Before you go any further,
Mm-hmm.
I would like to say that if there were a contest for Mr. Myra Breckinridge, you would unquestionably win it. I based her entire style polemically upon you, passionate and irrelevant.